Hi, this is Brantley with dSupport Online, and I'd like to welcome you to our dMystify series. Today we'll be going over Autoruns, one of my favorite utilities to disable startup entries, and it's made by Sysinternals, who's a subsidiary of Microsoft, and they actually started out making utilities for Windows and were so good at their job that they actually got bought out by Microsoft and were able to keep their name and pretty much run things as they were before, just with more access to Windows and the internal sides of things. So quite a great utility and quite powerful for what it can do here. Start off here, we'll show you that it is in our malware removal and manual section. This is one of the default D72 apps, and we've also added it to the offline operations because there is a way to analyze offline systems, and just good to note that that is only available for Vista Plus systems, and we'll go through a demonstration of that one with it here. First, to start off, we'll go ahead and check out their web page. And you can see it is a Microsoft subset, but they have quite detailed information on their product here, and also they have a command line version that if you wanted to use for scripting, you can use some of their command line parameters here. For our D72 purposes, we're actually using the full version, and it has a little bit more options to be able to actually go in and disable some of the startup items. So we'll go ahead and run it here so we can check it out. You'll notice it does say escape to cancel scanning here, and if we go ahead and escape, I normally will first come up and filter options and hide our Microsoft entries and verify our code signatures. And that just kind of gives you a more limited list at the same time while checking a little bit more into the files that are being referenced in these startup issues themselves. It does take a little bit longer to go through the scanning process for these, but it is worth it some of the times to check and see if you have possible rootkit or bootkit activity where some startup items for default Microsoft entries will show up as non-verified. Doesn't always mean that that's a bad thing, but it could be something that you want to check more into and just see if it looks like it might be a possible issue or problem down the road. And for this one, for example, you really wouldn't have to worry about the desktop search namespace manager. That shows up as not verified for most all the systems I look at. And to go over a little bit about what you're seeing here, these are all of the startup entries, and usually I'll use the everything tab just because it has everything in one place. We've already hidden the Microsoft and Windows entries, and all we have left are just the third-party apps. This system is a base system, so you don't have a lot of the entries you may have here, but this will pretty much find most of the places that malware will start up with. This is a great tool to use in conjunction with the debug app. You'd be able to run debug, disable most all of the startup entries, and if you start into safe mode while debug's running, you can run at auto runs here and then just uncheck to disable certain items. And I normally don't recommend deleting them, because if you just uncheck them, they are disabled and aren't going to be able to start up there, but it kind of leaves you a quick reference there to see if malware is reinserting itself into these startup entries. And you can see that they do have it separated into the various startup locations that are possible here, but everything would show up under this everything tab. So normally I just stick with this one and go through and check through the list here. You'll notice some of the color coding that we have here. The yellow ones are files that can't be found, and some of these are common. A lot of these down here are going to be default Windows services and items that are just the way that they're written and set up. They don't have a file to point to, but leaving them there or disabling them really doesn't hurt the system either way. So you're free to go through and just uncheck any of these. And since we have the Microsoft and Windows entries hidden, most of the time it's not going to affect your system. You're just disabling third-party apps and additional items that have been installed on the system since then. You do want to make sure on the driver sections that you might not want to disable some of the driver features that might be needed for Windows to run. So just a good word of caution there. But the red ones are ones that might want to check into because they don't have a file entry or possibly are not verified for their code signature. And the code signature, you can see, like this one is from Oracle, and since we're running on a VirtualBox, it is a VirtualBox file that has been verified as being from Oracle. Again, some of the times that'll be useful is if you see things like explorer.exe as a not verified Microsoft Corporation file, might be indicated of a rootkit or possible bootkit that's on the system, and you may want to scan that system offline and see if some offline virus scanners will remove it there. And good note on the offline while we're here, if we go ahead and analyze an offline system, first you want to pick out your system root, and that's just going to be the Windows on your attached drive there. So you'd pick out the Windows folder on that attached drive, and it'll default to the users folder, and you can see it defaults to the users version, which is Vista Plus. And if you try to use a XP system, it will give you an error, and they, I believe, do some sort of behind the scenes magic or tricks there to get it to be able to scan the Autorun entries for an offline system. If we go ahead and say OK here, you'll see we get a whole different set of startup entries that we could go through and disable for that offline system. You will notice that it shows as C:, even though we were pulling from the F drive. I believe that's part of the behind the scenes work that they're doing to be able to analyze this system offline, because this is quite different from the ones that we've been we're just looking at previously there. And I do know this is coming from that Windows 7 partition that I have attached here. And you could go through and disable those items, start up your offline drive, and be able to get back to it without an issue there. It does look like you might not want to disable things that you don't want to have disabled, because it may be difficult to re-enable it through this offline system, it looks like. But it kind of is just a trick to be able to get in and disable some things quickly if you need to. Again, since they're doing some behind the scenes work here, it may not be 100% foolproof, but you could at least use it to verify what's on the system and what's running. I believe most of these not verified ones are actually going to be because of the behind the scenes work that they're doing there. But it is definitely a very powerful tool and shows you most of the startup locations that programs and malware and anything can really get in and start up from, and will give you a great view of the system before you start working on it there. And that's why we have it in the offline's operations section, so you can have some additional tools to be able to work with as well there. So I hope that has demystified Autoruns a little bit for you and showed you some additional tips and tricks for using it, and want to thank you for watching.
We hope you found this video helpful and informative. If you'd like to see more, visit dsupportonline.com/dmz. DMZ gives you access to self-guided personal training on D7.2 and quick tip videos, malware removal videos, custom configurations and definitions for D7.2. You can make custom app requests and get early release access to new app configurations. You can also take an additional 10% off all other dSupport Online services and support. Optionally, you can get one-on-one personalized training follow-up training sessions, Q&A with the developer in those training sessions, a custom logo setup service. You can attend a webinar of your choice, and that includes premium support services for D-apps, including phone and remote support. So stop by today. That's dsupportonline.com/DMZ. Thanks for watching.